Robert, we're on.
Oh, good evening and welcome.
Flip the switch here.
Yeah, and welcome to KZGN-TV's Ridgecrest Talk, the Thursday evening edition. I'm Robert Eierman, along with co-host Al Huey, and this evening we're going to be talking about Propositions 45, 46, 47, and 48, and we are pleased to have with us a special guest, Heather Weaver. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's get into the first proposition if we can here. Proposition 45. Now remember, last week we covered Propositions 1 and 2. So moving on, the next one is Proposition 45. It's the Healthcare Insurance Rate Changes Initiative Statute. And it requires insurance commissioners' approval before health insurance can be changed, before a health insurer can change its rules or anything else affecting the changes associated with health insurance. Provides for public notice, disclosure, and hearing, and subsequent judicial review. Exempts employer large groups health plans, fiscal impact, increased state administrative costs to regulate health insurance, likely not exceeding the low millions of dollars annually in most years. Funded from fees paid by health insurance companies, and it's a yes or no vote. And before we get to talking to you about it, I brought just the libertarian view on this tonight.
Okay. Oh, all right.
I think you have the others.
No.
Oh, you don't? Well,
I have those supporters, so yes,
okay.
I do have that.
And they say Prop 45 health insurance rate changes. This means we'll give the insurance commissioner the power to decide health insurance rates. This is yet another example of government interference in the marketplace where the bureaucrats have caused the problem, and Prop 45 will, they hope, fix the problem. The bureaucrats have limited the number of insurance companies offering insurance into California consumers through excessive rules and regulations, which has led to less competition and higher prices. The fix is an insurance czar who will decide if insurance rates increase or are reasonable to protect the consumer from price gouging. The loosening up of the regulations, so many more insurance companies can sell to California, will do a lot more to lower rates than any czar can accomplish. And they recommend to vote no on Prop 45. What say ye, Heather?
Well, what I found was it didn't just affect the rates, but it would also affect co-pays and deductibles, and he would also be able to pick what benefits would be covered. And so, to me, it's going to increase your costs. And the other thing is it was written prior to Obamacare being passed, so it would cause duplication and bureaucracy, so we'd be paying for the same things twice. So my recommendation would be no, because I think it's going to increase our costs.
I thought it was interesting that they let large companies exempt. I think it's employers over 50 employees.
Yes.
And it's not only that, but you're talking about two companies now. Because you got the company, and then they have an insurance provider. That's the other company that gets exempt. So.
True.
Interesting.
Some of the supporters, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Barbara Boxer, Insurance Commissioner, Superintendent of Public Education, California Democratic Party. I'm trying to pick out the good ones here. Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, that's interesting. Congress of California Seniors, and a number of unions. Let's look at who opposes.
Okay.
And before that, the donors. Consumer Watchdog Campaign, yes on 45 and 46. Coalition of Advocates, Attorneys,
yes, and
nurses. About 2.4 million. And another group, yes on 45, same people, and about 3.5 million. Always makes me suspicious when attorneys contribute so much. opponents: California Republican Party, California Chamber of Commerce, California Medical Association, California Hospital Association, California Orthopedic Association, California Association of Heart Plans, California Association of Health Underwriters, and it goes on and on. Mostly they are all health-related organizations that say vote no.
Well, there was a stipulation in there that if lawyers intervene to work on the benefits, they get $675 an hour.
Whoa.
Wow.
Sign me up.
Yes, right. Exactly.
We'll have to let Keith know about that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to 46 if we don't have any other comments. Proposition 46 is a drug and alcohol testing of doctors. Let me read it here actually from the pamphlet. Drug and alcohol testing of doctors, medical negligence lawsuits initiative statute. Requires drug testing of doctors, requires review of statewide prescription database before prescribing controlled substances, increases $250,000 pain and suffering cap in medical negligent lawsuits for inflation. Fiscal impact: state and local government costs from raising the cap on medical malpractice damages ranging from tens of millions to several $100 million annually, offset to some extent by savings from requirements on health care providers.
Hey guys, I got a question for you out there.
Sure.
What the heck are they doing putting limits on suing doctors along with drug testing doctors? How does one relate to the other? I'm not exactly sure how they put these two together.
It doesn't relate. That's called a cover-up, done intentionally to get something, in my opinion, past the voters with being able to talk about something that everybody would probably be for, and then they slip the bad thing in right behind it. So I agree with you. They don't have anything to do with each other, and they certainly shouldn't be on the same proposition.
The old double take. I got you. Okay.
Switch and bait.
Yeah, that too.
And libertarians say here on 46, Prop 46, drug and alcohol testing of doctors. This means this measure will require random testing for substance abuse and raise the cap, yada yada. We'd already talked about that. The medical insurance industry already monitors doctors and will not insure doctors with problems or will charge them higher rates for the added risk. If a doctor is on drugs, I don't even know if I want to go to him, but mandatory testing will only add to already high cost of health care by passing the cost on to consumers. All right. I guess we're going to go to break, and we'll finish Prop 46 when we come back, right after the break. Stay with us. You're listening to Thursday Night Ridgecrest Talk.
Welcome back to the Thursday evening of Ridgecrest Talk, and with Robert Eierman, Al Huey, and we have our special guest Heather Weaver, and we're talking about Propositions 45, 46, 47, and 48. And when we went away to break, Al was going to give us some additional information
from the Libertarian Party of California. And I was just saying, to continue on 46, they say raising the cap on lawsuits for pain and suffering will only encourage more ambulance chasing in our lawsuit-happy society. We are also concerned about the requirements in this measure that requires doctors to turn in suspected substance abuse doctors and the requirement to use government databases before insuring or issuing certain prescriptions as a government database have a history of problems. They recommend no. What say ye?
I'd say that I have a problem with the government having a database on prescription drug. And the other thing is that there was the thing of could cost doctors to leave. It would be the only state in the union that would require drug testing for doctors. So if I was a doctor, I would go to a different state that wouldn't require that of me.
Especially if you were a doctor using drugs.
Well, that's possible too. But I found one comment I thought was really great. I would agree to the initiative if it also included those up in Sacramento to be drug tested.
Great idea. We would have to think about what we would do when we discovered what they were on.
Yeah, it's like they talked about requiring drug testing for welfare recipients and that type of thing.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Who supports 46? Well, of course, Barbara Boxer does. Consumer Watchdog, Consumer Federation of California, Congress of California Seniors, Consumer Attorneys of California, California Teamsters, and who opposes it? And who dated? Of course, we already talked about Consumer Watchdog putting in a lot of money. Opponents. California Hospital Association, California Dental Association, California Medical Association, American College of Emergency Physicians, California Chapter, American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Again, the vast majority of these opponents are all the medical professionals. And it goes on and on and on, a whole page. And they're almost all that kind of ilk. Yeah, every one of them is that. Also, the California Republican Party, Civil Justice Association of California, California Chamber of Commerce, the Bay Area Council, California NAACP, American Civil Liberties Union, California Teachers Association. An interesting conglomeration. I mean, normally the California Teachers Association and the Republican Party don't agree on anything.
This is true.
And then a large number of unions oppose it. Interesting.
Well, I think part of the problem is in our society we have to have all these certificates. You know, if you're doing a particular job, you might have to have first aid, and you might have to have been fingerprinted and keep all that stuff, and that adds another layer of keeping your cards all up to date so that you can perform your normal job.
Well, and the other thing is, it's going. If you suddenly have to, as a doctor, have malpractice insurance that goes to $1 or $1.1 million, by definition, that's more expensive. By definition, the doctor has to raise the rate, take in more money to pay for that malpractice insurance, and it's 4 times. I'm not saying that the insurance would be 4 times, but it's a much greater amount, and I would be worried about what our medical costs would do as a result of it.
Would be no change if you're under Obamacare, though.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Okay, let's not go there. All right. So 47. Proposition 47 is a criminal sentences misdemeanor penalties initiative statute. Requires misdemeanor sentences instead of a felony for certain drug and property offenses. I'm sorry, let me back up. Requires misdemeanor sentences instead of a felony for certain drug and property offenses. I guess they want to make that misdemeanor, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Requires misdemeanor sentence.
Right.
All right. I missed that. Inapplicable to persons with prior conviction to serious or violent crime and registered sex offenders. Fiscal impact, state and county criminal justice savings potentially in the high hundreds of millions of dollars annually. I like this part. State savings spent on school truancy and dropout prevention, mental health and substance abuse in treatment and victim services. We'll get to this in just a minute, but
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
okay, we got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So the libertarians, of course, I'm not going to get into it too much. It's no surprise libertarians say vote yes. It has to do with drug people, so they're all for free drugs.
Okay, I would just say that they may also be for reducing the harshness of sentences relative to drug offenses.
You could say that too.
Okay.
A little bit of a reach maybe on my
Yeah,
part.
it's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's not just drugs. We're talking about shoplifting and forgery and fraud. So that drug is only one component. And so what about the victims? I mean, so great, you reduce the sentence for the offender, but what about the compensation for the victim? To me, that kind of compromises the victim's rights.
Are you meaning that the part of the compensation for the victim is that the perpetrator goes to prison for a longer time?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd never thought about that.
I think it's just another way for the legislature to get more money into their pockets by not spending that additional money for lengthy prison sentences.
Well, yeah, correct. You wouldn't have to have as much money going into the prison system.
But you're letting people out with easier, like a crime-free card, so your crime rises. I mean, they've already had more car thefts because they have more on the criminals on the street. So are you going to get really all those savings that they talk about if you're spending time chasing people you're releasing?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, we just had the 4-time illegal who's been sent out of the country and comes back and kills somebody.
Right.
You know,
so you're saying vote no?
Yes, I would say vote no.
Okay.
All right, before we go to break, all the local media have been giving their choices for local elections. And Robert and I discussed it, and we thought we ought to be able to do the same here. So we discussed it, and we're going to give our choices for the
council, for mayor, and school board.
And the school board. So let's start at the top for mayor, what our choice should be, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think
And welcome back to the Thursday evening edition of Ridgecrest Talk. I'm Robert Eierman along with co-host Al Huey, and we're here with Heather Weaver, and we're discussing now Proposition 48, which is a proposition for Indian Gaming Compacts referendum. And obviously, yes vote approves, the no vote rejects. Tribal gaming compacts between the state and the North Fork Ranchera of Mono Indians and the Wyatt tribe. And basically, this is where the state's going to get some monies from those Indian tribes.
Okay. Now, the Libertarian Party on this, we were talking with Heather during the break, chooses to go, not say one way or the other. And rather than read their diatribe here, we'll just say that they're kind of playing the neutral ground on this. They don't want to say yay or nay. And what have you studied up and read on it?
I found mostly the same thing. Most people were neutral, but what I did find was two tribes that are affected by this referendum are currently in a lawsuit to see if it's even legal according to federal law. So I did think that's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
It may not even be valid even if it passes.
Really?
Yeah.
What do they do with all the Indian casinos? Like up in Bishop, they have one.
I don't know. But, well, Bishop has there's really Indian land. I don't know where they're talking about. It seemed kind of interesting when they were building.
Was mentioned during the break, you know, they tried to do that out in Inukurn a few years ago. And all they have to do is buy the land and put the Indian's name on it. And somehow that qualifies under federal or state law, I don't know which, and then allows them to put a casino there. Because some Indian owns it, whether it be the tribe or some organization.
Hey guys, the way I originally understood when we voted on this in the first place, when Governor Schwarzenegger was still in office, was that it was only to be done on Indian land that was approved by the federal government that had been worked out.
Okay.
What they're trying to do now is actually extend out past that point.
Oh.
Right, that was my understanding. It was not on what had previously been considered Indian land. And I suppose that one could argue, well, any casino is a good casino, but at the same point, where do you stop this? Or where do you limit it, or however you want to put it?
Well, again, up in Bishop, I don't know where the
I don't either.
Tribal grounds are drawn there, you know.
And I don't know that this affects that. It's just these two tribes that
Yeah, yeah.
have made an agreement. So I guess we'll just all pass on a recommendation for that. Vote your conscience. But be sure and vote.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go vote, whatever your opinion is, whatever and whoever you support, please vote.
And these initiatives are important too because it's going to affect us. So you need to study up on them. We tried to give you a little information the last 2 Thursday nights, so hopefully it'll cause you to go and look and get some more information before you say yay or nay on the initiatives.
Absolutely, yes.
And of course then we gave our predictions, or our choices I should say, for local offices. And there's other officials being elected, but we didn't cover those because they really aren't local. You know?
No.
All right, we're going to talk about a few things here in the last few minutes. And Robert, you wanted to make some predictions, I understand.
Yes, I want to make a prediction. And it really isn't about local. This is about the national front, which certainly indirectly impacts us. And there's been a lot of talk about it. So I was just trying to figure out what was going to happen. And so I analyzed it. I got my crystal ball out. Neither of those worked. So I got in my time machine and I fast forwarded to Wednesday, next Wednesday. Yeah.
Nice.
And what I discovered was the USA Today headline. And it didn't say the word wave or tidal wave. What it said was Republican tsunami.
Whoa.
And so it's going to be more than double digits in the House, and it's going to be very close, 8-9 in the Senate that they take control by. So there you go, from my experience in my time machine.
Did you bring the paper back with you?
I forgot.
Hey. Should have been like Back to the Future. You could have been out in Vegas making some money.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We got a few other things we want to cover here before we head out tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow is Halloween. And the kiddies are going to be out grubbing for all the candy they can get. So be careful as they're crossing the streets, more focused on the candy down the street than you. So just be cautious, look out for them. Then next Tuesday, of course, is election, November the 4th. And be looking for Robert and I. We're going to be out doing some exit polls.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Okay?
And please come up and talk to us. We don't bite.
Or we're going to have forms if you don't want to
I'm
go on.
also going to have forms. If you don't want to go on air, you can just fill out the form, and that'll help us, because the broader sample we get, the more assistance or the information we'll be able to give you Tuesday evening.
Right. Which I'm just getting ready to mention. Then Tuesday evening, we're going to be on 8 to 9, right after the polls close. And I think we might be able to make some predictions.
Yes.
Or, they might not be rock solid predictions. But
right.
We'll have the absentee results from the county regarding the local elections. And if the numbers are pretty significant,
one way or the other, yes.
Pretty much it stays that way is what we've seen historically in the past. So we might be able to predict or...
And I wanted to mention, we're going to have the candidates on. We've invited them in to come in and be on air with us. They could also call in, so we can talk with them about the campaign being over.
Okay, we're going to do that Tuesday night from 8 to 9, and then we get up again Wednesday.
And we'll
at 8 to 9 in the morning.
Giving you the results that we can.
Really difficult for the two retired guys here.
Yeah. And then Thursday.
I don't know if my alarm clock works. Anyway,
Thursday.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, Tuesday night we'll have Reed Blake with us from the news.
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
And Wednesday, 8 to 9. And then next Thursday, we're going to have hopefully the local winners on with us, and we'll talk to them.
We've invited them all in, and hopefully they will come in and talk with us and you.
And we want to thank you for being on tonight.
Yes.
We appreciate you coming
Thank
down
you, Heather.
spending some time with
Pleasure.
us, talking about the initiatives. Again, get out there and vote. We need to get qualified people elected to office, and, well, I should say good people. I hate to use the word qualified. See you next week.